The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome. It's Court Radio time, folks, and it's Sunday morning. It's the last Sunday in February, 2 months down and 10 to go. 2016's turning out to be a wonderful year. We really didn't have too bad a winter this year, actually. In any event, we've got a whole bunch of stories to talk about. But if you've got legal questions you've been sitting on, all you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727. That's it. The show has begun, and I'm joined in the studio with a new co-host, a special appearance by a My Philly Lawyer employee. Yes, sirree. If you've called the office to talk about a medical malpractice claim, you've probably talked to this guy. Welcome to Court Radio, Randy Weiss.
Thank you.
Yeah, the crowds are crazed over this. Yes, Dr. Randy Weiss, who's our frontline person at My Philly Lawyer, he takes all the med mal calls and screens those, decides which ones warrant closer examination. Randy and I are going to talk today about what medical malpractice is and what types of cases end up being prosecuted successfully. And that's really, when we turn a case down, it's not anything personal. We've made a decision that we don't think we would be successful in the prosecution of that claim. And folks are free to test the waters at other locations, but when we do take a case, we have some level of confidence that that case has merit and will be successfully prosecuted. And sometimes cases can have merit, right, Rand? A case can,
yes.
There could be negligence, but not sufficient damages.
That's correct. In a case where, well, first the thing that has to happen is there has to be an establishment that what the doctor or hospital institution has done is directly responsible for the damages that have occurred.
Right. There's got to be a connection between what was done improperly, because sometimes they do a bunch of stuff wrong, but it's not really the reason why you had a bad result.
Right. Anytime that we do surgery, there is a procedure done, there's always the risk that something can go wrong. And if it is something that we know can go wrong, it is very possible that it will be just considered as a potential outcome, something that an untoward effect that we don't want to happen, but does occur.
All right. We're going to get back to that. We're going to talk about it in detail. If you've got medical malpractice questions, probably today's show's a good time to give us a call. All you got to do is dial up 215-227-2727. That's the number for My Philly Lawyer during the week, and it's the Court Radio number for Sunday mornings. But there's some stuff in the news, and some of it's medical. Actually, a lot of it's medical, as fate would have it. But we're going to start first with the non-medical one. Chris Christie endorses Donald Trump, a fair-haired child of the Republican Party. Big old Chris Christie from the state of New Jersey has officially put his hat in the ring for Donald Trump, who's the perennial outsider in the Republican Party. Does that shock you? Yeah, you.
No, it doesn't shock me. It seems that Governor Christie is, kind of a bit of a bully and someone who is willing to go blow with the wind, depending on where it goes, if it helps him politically.
Isn't that the truth? We all saw, Chris Christie at the at the Cowboys game when they were playing the Eagles, and he was sitting fat and pretty up in the owner's box of the Cowboys, and obviously, if you're the governor of a joining state to the football team, you would think that's in bad taste, but he was going where the money was.
It appears.
Yeah. And so he was cozying up to Trump. I'll bet Chris Christie hopes he's the little kid sitting on the corner hoping he gets picked for the team. He thinks he might be the next vice presidential candidate. That's it. He's playing for the vice president now. But, that's the way it is in politics. First you're the president, now you're the vice president. Before you know it, he'll be, I don't know, the master of ceremonies at the White House. And he'll accept that and be happy with it.
Perhaps, the director of bridge closings in Washington, D.C.
Bridge closings, yeah. Okay. I don't think there are any bridges going into Washington, so it's probably a safe job for Christie. 215-227-2727. Now let's move on to some of the medical news. First of all, out of, I think it was Alabama, Birmingham, came a verdict this week, folks, against Johnson & Johnson, that huge company also in New Jersey, worth, I don't know, $60 or $70 billion with a B, that the talcum powder, and I remember talcum powder when I was a kid. I mean, I haven't seen any or used any since, as a child. But apparently there's a subset of people who do use that and continue to use that. And if women use talcum powder, believe it or not, there's been a connection shown between talcum powder and ovarian cancer. No other kind. Don't call with breast cancer or prostate cancer, but ovarian cancer and talcum powder over a long period of time. And this woman in Alabama, who's no longer alive, by the way, she passed before the trial. They brought this case against Johnson & Johnson, and apparently not only did they show a connection, but they also proved to the jury that Johnson & Johnson knew of the connection and lied about it to the government and to everybody that they could and should have not lied. They lied about this, knowing about this connection. So they got hit for $10 million in compensatory damages and $62 million in punitives. We've seen this. We're handling the transvaginal mesh cases. You've reviewed a whole bunch of those cases over the last couple of years.
Yes, there have been so many unfortunate women that I've talked to who have, gone through the hell and back, basically, as far as the implement. They have put in this mesh for the most part in order to help with bladder problems, and the outcome has been far worse than if they had not done the surgery in the first place.
Yeah, so the products that these companies make money off of don't always perform without consequences. And sometimes those consequences are far worse than the actual problem, and the company knew about it and chose not to let the ultimate consumer know that there were potential problems lurking.
And, of course, what surprises me is the number of physicians who continue to use this mesh in spite of there was knowledge to the effect that there were problems with this. And, after years of mounting evidence that this procedure was leading to complications and terrible outcomes, in the light of that, the physicians continued to perform these surgeries and continue to use this mesh.
Yeah, it is shocking. But one of the problems, or one of the issues that we have to tackle in these cases is statute of limitations. And it really gets down to when the party knew that the problems they were having were connected to the product that is the bad product. Now that this Johnson & Johnson verdict has come out and it's become mainstream news, public knowledge, I think the clock is ticking now. If you or a loved one has or had ovarian cancer, which you had no idea what caused it, and now you've heard that talcum powder can cause that disease, that connection in your mind is made, and the 2-year statute of limitations in Pennsylvania begins to tick because we have something called a discovery rule. When you knew or should have known that you were having a problem that was connected to something, some event or some product. And so it was in the news for years, that there was a connection between transvaginal mesh and some bad outcomes. So now I would say if you're coming forward today and you knew you had a bad outcome, you knew you had to go back and forth to the doctor a number of times for revisions, and you heard about this litigation, and that all that happened more than 2 years ago, that's a serious problem with regard to statute of limitations. And statute of limitations bars good cases. It's, it's unfortunate, but there's a limit to how long you can sit with information and do nothing. So it's the important thing here is if you know somebody who has ovarian cancer and all of a sudden the light goes off and you realize, hey, they used that talcum powder their whole lives, well, now's the time. If you wait and time goes by, you could be at some point in the future barred by the statute of limitations. All right, let's talk to a caller first. Let's talk to Rob on line 3 from Overbrook. Hey, Rob, welcome to Core Radio.
How are you today?
We're doing great, thank you. Is this the first time you're calling us?
Yes, I'm a first-time caller.
Oh, cool. What moved you to pick the phone up?
I listen on the radio a lot, and I really like your show. And I got a question about Ted Cruz' eligibility to be president. Do you have to be born in the United States to be a president?
Yeah, it's a part of the Constitution. I think you need to turn your radio down. We're getting some feedback or something there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. You sound bigger than life.
Oh, okay. I'll turn it down.
So, there's a constitutional clause that requires the person who wants to be president to be born in the United States. Now, the question is, does that preclude somebody from running? And to me, it seems silly. Why would you run if you won and couldn't fulfill the duties of the office because you don't meet that requirement?
Exactly.
So I think he's being sued actually over that. But, it's almost a moot point at this point because the chances of Cruz becoming the nominee is as likely as it is to snow today.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Rob. He has to have, anybody who, and that's, the whole birthing thing with Obama. Anybody who wants to be the president, in order to legally be the president, must be born within the United States.
Okay.
All right, Rob, thanks for calling Core Radio, and keep listening, bud. It's nice talking to you. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Tim from West Philly, because I haven't talked to somebody in West Philly this morning yet. Well, Larry doesn't count. Hey, Tim, what's happening? How are you?
Okay.
Okay, just okay? Come on, you can give me better than just okay.
I can't complain.
Okay, and I can't complain. All right, well, then tell me why you're calling here.
I have a problem with the water department. They trying to say that I have a bilateral problem with my property, but it was an abandoned house next door to me. It fell and collapsed on my house. When the front end loader was tearing it down, put a hole in the street. And now they're trying to say it's a bilateral problem. They never shut the water off in an abandoned property since it's been there.
Right, right. Well, here's the deal when you have situations like this. You're at a disadvantage. I mean, you're dealing with the water department. They've got all kinds of water inspectors and stuff sticking, I don't know, video cameras and stuff into your pipes. I would always say, look, if you want to blame the water department or you want to blame this contractor who's, who may have caused damage that led to this problem you're having, you need an expert. You need somebody, a plumber, to say, yeah, Tim, that's right. This isn't bilateral. This isn't about your pipes being blocked. This is about that contractor who broke this pipe and that led to this, which led to that, etc. That gets into like expert testimony, which is not unlike what Randy and I deal with on medical malpractice. We're going to kind of segue back to. But you need an expert to back up what you're saying, because what you're saying might make all the sense in the world, but you're not, I mean, I assume you're not a licensed master plumber. And so you need to get one of those out there to diagnose what the problem is and to point the finger, if it's appropriate, at whomever caused the problem. You got to spend a few bucks, get somebody out there, because in the long run, if you're right and they can put that puzzle together for you and show clearly how it isn't your issue, but it's these other issues, there's going to be a deep pocket that's going to make the necessary repairs for you, i.e. the water company themselves, if they caused the problem, or the contractor who put a hole in the street. But that's not a legal issue first. First, it's a factual issue. You need to be able to establish the cause of your problem. Got it?
I took video. The whole block is like that. If I have the path to pay, then I have no problem with it. But when the whole block is caving in and seeping in like that, there's a problem.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but you're not going to walk into a courtroom and go, hey, because it looks like there's a problem and the whole block is having a problem, then it must be their fault or this one's fault or that one's fault. Whose fault it is needs to be established by a licensed plumbing expert. And so I say again, you want a strong case when you walk into the courthouse? You can't rely upon I lost that word,
Hearsay?
No, not hearsay, but like evidence that you walk out and there's snow on the ground, so you figure it snowed, but you didn't see it actually snow. You need direct evidence. And some legal expert will call and tell me my 54-year-old brain is missing a word. But you need direct evidence, and you need to get a plumber out there. That's my best advice for you, Tim.
Okay.
All right, bud. Thanks for calling Court Radio, and have a great Sunday. 215-227-2727. Circumstantial evidence.
There it is.
It just takes a second. I didn't have any coffee this morning. Circumstantial evidence is not necessarily going to get you into a winning case, okay? If it's the best evidence you got, that's fine. But in Tim's case, he can get actual direct evidence. He gets a plumber out there to scope his pipes.
It's like when I speak with people who are concerned about or believe that they have a malpractice case. Yeah, it's important that a doctor, someone who is qualified to make that judgment, has some evidence that points to the fact that a mistake was actually made. Sometimes it looks like a mistake was made, and in fact, it was just circumstances.
Right. and sometimes there's more than one cause for a problem. And so you start to get into multiple causes. You need to have when we bring a medical malpractice case, while Dr. Weiss reviews the case preliminarily, we ultimately need an expert who is licensed in the area in which the potential defendant doctor or hospital is practicing medicine. So if we're looking at an oncology case, a cancer case, which is often a delayed diagnosis case, we need to have an oncologist who puts that case together and renders an opinion that there is negligence, and the negligence was a substantial cause of the bad result.
That's correct.
Oftentimes in oncology cases, in cancer cases, there's negligence. Let's say there's a spot on your lung and a radiologist looked at the chest X-ray and missed it. And let's say that, you continue to cough, you go back 2 months later, and they find the same spot, and they go, oh, yeah, there's a spot. It was on the original X-ray. We missed it. Now, you might come running into my office at that point and say, I've got them. They messed me up. They didn't diagnose this, and it was clear as can be. And you would be right. But would you have a case? Probably not. And why? Why wouldn't you? Because they did make a mistake, right? Isn't that enough? Didn't you prove your case by saying the doctor made a mistake? They did. The radiologist missed it. He made a mistake or she made a mistake. What's the issue there?
Well, the issue would be that had they detected the problem at that time, would it have made a difference?
Exactly. Time here is the issue. Is 2 months delay in diagnosing cancer? If you could have been diagnosed 2 months earlier, would your chances have been much different than they were having diagnosed it 2 months later? And the answer is no. Very, very few cancers grow so fast and change so much in a 60-day period that anything much different would have happened. Now, if we expand that to 18 months, okay, and it's no longer in your lung, but it's spread throughout your body, then you're talking about clearly you now have negligence and you have causation. You have the two pieces of that puzzle that are required to have a malpractice claim. And, that's not always an easy thing for people to grasp or to accept.
No, it's things can look very much like there's a connection that turns out that it's not. There is not the actual. It's cause and effect is what we're talking about here. And in this case, we're just talking about the idea that had we discovered the problem at this point in time, would the outcome at the point in time that we come in now be different? Would this have, and your example is perfect because, in fact, we all know that cancer can spread, and that's what the stages are that we talk about, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. That has to do with the advancement of the cancer. And if there has been a true advancement over the course of a proper period of time, and we're talking about something on the order of 12 months or greater for the most part, for it to be significant.
215-227-2727. If you've got med-mal questions, now's the time to ask. Let's talk to Christopher from Northeast Philly on line 4, Larry. Hi, Chris. Welcome to Court Radio.
Hey, what's good? How you doing?
Everything is good. Thanks for asking. And, hey, did you know I'm going to be at the Be Beautiful Expo?
Now, what is that?
Be Beautiful Expo is this cool expo down at the convention center that I think is on the second weekend of March. 12th, yeah, March the 12th. And they've got like a gazillion vendors for everything you could imagine for self-help and be beautiful. And it's mainly a lot of women go there. I went last year, set up a My Philly Lawyer enclave, and I was shocked how many people were there. Last year, there were like 8,000 people. This year, they're expecting over 12,000 beautiful women. So, as a guy, I mean, it's like easy pickings. You go to Be Beautiful, and it's like you and 12,000 women. So, you even if all you're doing is stalking, it's a good opportunity, Christopher. Okay, all right, yeah. See. He knows. He knows. Thinking about the possibilities right now. He's forgetting why he called me. Why did I call Dean? All right, Christopher, I'm only pulling your leg. Come on, tell me why you called me.
All right, so this is what happened. I was turning left onto oncoming traffic. Now, on my end, of course, I thought I had it, but the oncoming traffic had 2 lanes. The person that hit me on the rear was on the, I would say, the inner lane, not the outer lane.
Right.
And I had to wait until the car that was coming through in order to finish, onto my turn. Of course, the individual slammed on the brake and hit the left rear bumper. So my question is, now they said that I was supposed to, and I did, of course, did some research on the internet to see, because they would say that it was my fault because I was supposed to make sure that it was clear.
Okay. So you're asking me if I agree with that. Is that it?
Yeah, and if I fight it is because once again I did some research and said, well, it depends on it's like a lot of factors. So so what's your opinion on that?
Okay, my opinion is that I've been practicing law for 29-ish years, but I do still look good, so don't worry, don't get scared by that. 29 years I've handled one left turn case that I was successful on. And I only took one. The only one I took, I won. But every other case, I take the car that hit you. Because in Pennsylvania, there's a rule of the road or a statute which says, in essence, if you're making a left turn at an intersection, and and it's not a left turn arrow, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about just a plain old left turn. You got a green light, they got a green. Opposing traffic has a green light. If you're making a left turn in that circumstance, you must yield the right of way to oncoming traffic. And when there is a collision in the intersection that is legally presumed that you failed to yield the right of way and you are at fault. Can you rebut that presumption? Yes. But you would need substantial evidence. And the one case I handled, I was able to establish that the oncoming car, was going like 25 miles over the posted speed limit and also had come up and over a blind hill into the intersection, and that the left-turning car couldn't even have seen that car. If it had been going the normal speed, this accident wouldn't have happened. So, but again, it's a presumption that you're at fault, a presumption, and you can rebut it. But it would be I would be shocked if you were to win that case. So my advice is leave well enough alone. You had insurance, I assume, right, Christopher?
Actually, no, I was busted.
Ooh. Yeah, you
actually. The funny thing is, I went out to go get my car inspected, and then I left my insurance back at home, so I had to go back home. And then when I went back home, I'm like, oh, really? And then I found out it expired, so now I'm all jacked up.
You certainly are. And let me tell you what's going to happen. If the other car has insurance, they're going to pay the claim, but then continue to come after you. If they get a judgment against you, that judgment will act as a license removal for people who don't have insurance. They just take your license for the rest of your life until you pay the judgment when you have a judgment from an auto accident and you don't have insurance. So,
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. You got to work on this, and I think that you'll let things kind of take care of themselves. But at some point, you're going to probably want to negotiate with the insurance company for the other car and get on a payment plan of some sort so that doesn't happen, so you don't lose your license.
Got you.
All right, Christopher.
Okay.
Take care, brother. Thanks for calling Court Radio, and I hope today's a better day than that day was.
Yeah, that was well. I'm good though.
Yeah, I like your attitude.
I was like when I was doing research, I'm like, really? Even though that I was already out in the intersection, I'm still at fault.
But well, here's the thing: you may not be 100% at fault. You may be 50% at fault. So if there's a judgment for, if they come after you for $10,000, well, maybe you only owe $5,000, and that's why you might want to retain an attorney to do that kind of horse trading and negotiating with the insurance companies. And, in the end, it might say...
I'm going to be honest with you. I ain't bankrolling in dough to get an attorney.
Yeah. Well, you want to be able to at least argue that point. Hey, I might be at fault, but I'm not 100% at fault, and kind of negotiate your way down on the numbers.
Got you.
All right. Well, listen, if you come to Be Beautiful, stop by and say hello, all right?
I appreciate it.
Take care, buddy. Folks, we got to take a break because the sponsors need to be heard, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
You were just hurt. It's not your fault. You're in physical pain. How do you get better? Who is going to help you recover? West Philadelphia Associates has highly trained doctors and staff that can help you today. Don't wait at a hospital. West Philadelphia Associates will work with your attorney, providing documentation of all injuries and the best plan for treatment to get you back to the life you deserve. With diagnostic studies to better detect injuries, West Philadelphia Associates doctors and staff will help you recover. West Philadelphia Associates, here to help you get better because you deserve it. Call 215-471-4714.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. You've had an accident and can't work, but your legal case seems like it's taking forever, and the bills are piling up. At ThriveVest.com, we're here to help. If you have a pending lawsuit, call us at 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com has flexible solutions to get you money now. And if your case doesn't settle or you don't receive an award, you owe us nothing. Call 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com. Get the money you need to get on with your life.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back, Court Radio listeners. This is Dean Weitzman, and I'm joined in the studio with My Philly Lawyer, Dr. Randy Weiss. Welcome back, Randy. Yeah. Randy's the first line of defense if you're calling the firm about a medical malpractice case. That's the man you're going to talk to first. That's true. And he'll ask you a bunch of questions, and he might look at some medical records, and then we'll make a preliminary decision. But I have to say, I like to be honest with my listeners and my clients. And, you know, we probably reject 98% of the calls that come in for MedMal.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So, only 2% of all the calls initially are cases that we think might have a chance. And that doesn't mean they're all guaranteed, but, we've been down this road before. If we think there's potentially a claim, there's a good chance that there is. But there's many things, we were talking on the way in, that the political spectrum swings back and forth, and the Republicans and the Republican Supreme Court of Pennsylvania about 10 years ago, kind of in the middle of the night, came up with a rule change. It was scary, but they did it on a Friday. It was like on a weekend, and they forced a rule change that had dramatic effects across the Commonwealth, and that is, Normally, if you have a person or corporation that does business in multi-jurisdictions, so they've got an office in Philly, they've got an office in Bala Cynwyd in Montgomery County, they've got an office up in Abington, and they do something wrong, you can sue them wherever they can be found. So if they're in Philly, you can sue them in Philly, even though you might have had your interaction with them in Abington. And that's the way it is in Pennsylvania for everybody except doctors. Doctors and hospitals are treated better than anybody else in Pennsylvania. If you had your bad experience with a doctor or hospital in Abington, you have to sue them in Montgomery County. Even though that doctor may have 12 offices in Philadelphia and come into Philly, earning a living, making money off of the backs of Philadelphia residents, you can't sue them in Philadelphia, even if you're a Philadelphia resident, but you just happen to go up to Abington to see the doctor that day. But normally you see him in Philly. Can you sue him in Philly? No. It's just horrendous. And this happened. It wasn't a vote. Nobody got to elect people. It was in the middle of the night, the Republican Supreme Court of Pennsylvania 10 years ago, maybe 11, made a rule change. And they changed this rule, and that's the effect. Now, why do you think that's important? Because a Montgomery County jury is traditionally not going to find negligence against doctors and hospitals, even when it exists. They're a much more conservative venue. And so when we look at cases,
the venue matters.
The venue matters. If it's a close call case, if it's, we think there's a case, but it's not the strongest case, but it's got to be brought in Montgomery County, it may be a case we turn down. And that is why we're hopeful, we, the trial lawyers, are hopeful that rule gets changed back. Because why should doctors and hospitals be treated better than plumbers or carpenters or, negligent auto drivers? If you're driving your car in Montgomery County but you live in Philly, I'm going to sue you in Philadelphia. If you had an accident and you caused damages in Montgomery County, I'm going to sue you in Philadelphia because that's where you live. Well, if a doctor lives in Philadelphia, or a doctor has 10 offices in Philadelphia, but his negligence occurred somewhere else, why can't I sue him in Philadelphia? Well, the Supreme Court said, no, you can't. This is the kind of stuff people just don't pay attention to either. And it affects them directly, it's unfortunate. 215-227-2727. We're going to talk about one more story in the news, which I thought was crazy. There was a hospital employee named Frederick McLeish in Egg Harbor, who was a registered pharmacist at Shore Medical Center down in Atlantic County. He's being prosecuted by the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office after a year-long probe because he was tainting products in the hospital with HIV and hepatitis in 2013. He was angry about something at the hospital and took it out by tampering with the drug supply. And now people who have HIV or hepatitis, and you were a patient at Shore Memorial Hospital between June 1 of 2013 and September 17th of 2014.
So let me get this straight. This is a vindictive act on his part.
That's correct. An intentional and vindictive act. So the question is, does the hospital itself have responsibility for their errant employee? And the answer is maybe. But you'd have to establish that the hospital knew or should have known that he had the propensity to do this type of behavior, or that the blood supply that he had access to was inappropriately unguarded. There's certain areas where they might. But generally speaking, an employer is not responsible for the intentional acts of their employee when those intentional acts are not related to their employment. So if you're a security guard and your job is to manhandle people to get them to control crowds, and you do that negligently and punch somebody out, okay, that's a part of your job, and your employer will be responsible if you do that job in a negligent fashion. But if you're working at McDonald's and your job is to be a cashier, and you jump across the table and beat somebody senseless, that's not a part of your job. That's just an act of violence. And if the employer did not know or was not, kind of on guard that this employee had a problem. Now, I've brought cases like this against employers, and I was successful. But I established that their screening process when they hired somebody was inadequate. And that if they had done a proper screening, they would have uncovered this criminal behavior that the person was capable of.
I'm sure that there are mental health issues involved in that as well.
Mental health issues involving the pharmacist in the Shore Memorial
case. In this case, I would think, yeah.
Of course. Yeah, isn't there always? So, folks, if you've got medical malpractice questions, Dr. Randy Weiss and I are talking about medical malpractice. In the meantime, we're going to take some callers. Let's see. Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel, and it's Noel from Warminster. Noel, line 4. Noel, welcome to Court. Welcome to Court Radio, Noel.
Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. All the way from Bucks County you are, huh?
Yes, I am.
Well, that's where I just came down from. And 95 is clear, just in case you're looking to come into the city.
Oh, I'm fine staying in the suburbs.
So tell me, why are you calling Court Radio this morning?
Okay, my brother was involved in an accident. He was hit by a car. He was a pedestrian walking his dog in a crosswalk, and he was taken to a trauma hospital, and he was there for a week. He just got released, and he's going to be in the neck brace for 3 months, back brace for 2 months, an arm sling. I'm not really sure how long. But we haven't really did anything as far as a lawyer. But people are telling me, because I have appointments with this accident happened in Allentown.
Okay.
And he's recuperating in Warminster because he can't live at home.
Right.
He was doing too well to go to a rehab. He developed a blood clot before he left the hospital the day before. Now, I have him set up with orthopedics down here in Warminster, Doylestown area.
Right.
And people are telling me we shouldn't be going to see doctors or anybody until we consult with a lawyer.
Well, I mean, his injuries, traumatic injuries, catastrophic. He needs medical care, and so I'm not going to advise to delay the medical care, but you could do both. And certainly, if you're interested in being represented by the world famous Dean Weitzman, all you have to do is we have a Northeast office, so it's not like you have to come all the way down to Center City. We're on Bustleton Avenue at just above Washington High School at Bustleton in the Philmont area, and. And so I'd be happy to meet you and your brother there. And guess what? And if there are circumstances where our clients' injuries are so bad that they really can't get around that well, and we even do house visits when necessary. So there's ways that we can help you. All you have to do is give us a call as soon as the show's over, and that same number you called for Court Radio will just ring through to the office, and we'll get back to you and schedule you in. But absolutely, there's a lot that is involved with who's paying for his medical care. There's going to be liens from health providers. You want to make sure that at the end of the day, if it's possible, that he not have any financial obligations from this accident. From what you describe, clearly isn't his fault.
I just want to jump in here and say that this is something that I come across quite frequently when I'm talking with patients that are or clients that are calling about potential medical malpractice cases. They get advice from friends and family, that they shouldn't continue their medical care. That's never a good idea. The idea,
Okay.
the idea here is to complete all possible medical avenues. You know, you're not going to hurt yourself or hurt a case if you are seeking proper medical care. Never skimp on that. That's not an issue. There's not a conspiracy between doctors and lawyers that is ongoing.
Because that's my priority, is to get him, seen medically, because it seems like more injuries are, popping out now. Like he had one dislocated shoulder, but now he's noticing he can't raise his other arm up completely.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's going to be these injuries are really, I think, lifelong problems, and and so his life is going to be changed completely. And right now, he's not even capable of caring for himself. He was independent, and now he's dependent upon you to help him just to get through a day.
Correct.
So, listen, you need representation. Yes, he's entitled to compensation and the best medical care possible. And that, that will begin once you give us a call and we sit down with you, advise you of your rights, advise you of what opportunities exists out there. Sometimes we make referrals to social service agencies when appropriate to get care for our clients who can't afford it. And so there's things that we can do, because we go down this road, 400 or 500 times a year. This is your one and only. And so, we can help guide you in this process and make it, we're not going to be able to undo what's happened, but we can make the situation better for you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I'll be giving you a call back.
Thanks, Noel. Take care and have a great Sunday. Talk to you soon.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
215-227-2727, the place you get your legal answers. Let's talk to John on line 5 from Germantown. Hey, John, welcome to Core Radio.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you, and thank you for your patience. Is this the first time you're calling here?
No problem. I love your show. First time I've called.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, then, if that's the case, I love you, John. All right.
Listen, while I was waiting, I had two questions, and I decided I wanted to ask a different one than the one I told your screener I wanted to ask about. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. I like surprises. Go right ahead.
Okay. I was on the board of and was the minister for a church in West Philadelphia. And a few years back, there was a group that actually physically seized control of the building because they wanted to change of administration. They had no legal right to do it. They didn't have the deed. They weren't elected. So we went to court. And during the process of appeals from that court, somebody from their group went to the bank where we had our corporate account and somehow withdrew thousands of dollars of our money. And I think they went and told the bank that there was a change in administration, that they were the new board. But I still don't see how it's possible that the bank could have given them access to those accounts. On our board, there were only three people who could actually sign for any checks or any transactions with the bank. And as far as I know, none of the three of us participated in giving this other side access to the accounts.
Right.
So I'm wondering, that was around 2012. I'm wondering if there's any way to investigate what actually happened and any legal recourse to recoup some of that money.
Okay, so the answer is probably yes, but you've got to move quickly because in breach of contract cases, which is kind of what you're describing, I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. Conversion, which is the civil side of theft, but that's probably a statute that's come and gone. But a breach of contract. Okay, you have a contract with the bank. You have an account. That's a contract. They have their obligations as the holder of your money, and you have your obligations as the depositor. That contract, if there's a breach, there's a 4-year statute of limitations in Pennsylvania. And so if this happened in 12 and it's just now 16, as long as it didn't happen before today in 12, you should still be within your 4-year statute of limitations. but you can understand you have to move quickly. Now, I've sued banks before who've given out deposit funds on behalf of my client. Like, I represented a minor. I settled the minor's case. The minor was involved in an accident, settled the case. The money was put into a restricted account, not to be withdrawn until the minor turned 18. And the mom of the minor took the money out of the account before the minor turned 18. And the dad, now mom and dad weren't together, the dad called and said, hey, the kid's money's missing. Well, we found out that the bank gave it to the mother. We sued the bank because they have an obligation to protect the funds on deposit. And in your case, there's 3 people who are signatories. Now, if this other group committed some, very elaborate fraud and came in with bylaws and stamps, and they could show, the bank shows all this documentation that was provided that shows the 3 signatories were out and the new people were in and they have all the right signatures, maybe the bank's going to be okay. But that's an awful lot of paperwork that the bank's going to have to show, and I suspect that they're not going to be able to. And if you sued the bank and in essence said that they gave your money away to a fraudster, to somebody illegally, the bank has to establish that they didn't do that, and they have to show all this paperwork. And if they can't, they're going to have to replace the money.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. Well, because when we approached the bank about what had actually happened, they froze us out completely. They froze out and would not talk to anybody who was one of the original people whose names was on the account.
Right.
So we couldn't get any useful information from the bank after that point.
And unfortunately, that means that you're going to have to sue and not have as much information as I'd like to have. But, how much money is at stake here?
I believe it's been a while, but I think it might have been about $36,000.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, $36,000, while as a number, is a decent number, but you're going to have to spend some money on legal fees to kind of go down that road, and I'm not sure that it's going to be worth it at the end of the day. It's hard to tell, but in any event, I got to run. We got to take a break. Thanks for being a listener.
Thank you so much for your help.
Oh,
Can
no
I contact
problem.
your office with the other two cases I'd like to
Absolutely.
run by you?
You can always contact us by the number 215-227-2727. You can always email me at dean@myphillylawyer.com, and I will answer or push your email to somebody who can answer it, and that might be the best way. Yeah, we're available. All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Have a
take
great
care.
day.
You too. Folks, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Please keep on listening.
You were just hurt. It's not your fault. You're in physical pain. How do you get better? Who is going to help you recover? West Philadelphia Associates has highly trained doctors and staff that can help you today. Don't wait at a hospital. West Philadelphia Associates will work with your attorney, providing documentation of all injuries and the best plan for treatment to get you back to the life you deserve. With diagnostic studies to better detect injuries, West Philadelphia Associates doctors and staff will help you recover. West Philadelphia Associates, here to help you get better because you deserve it. Call 215-471-4714.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. You've had had an accident and can't work, but your legal case seems like it's taking forever and the bills are piling up. At ThriveVest.com, we're here to help. If you have a pending lawsuit, call us at 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com has flexible solutions to get you money now. And if your case doesn't settle or you don't receive an award, you owe us nothing. Call 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com. Get the money you need to get on with your life.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back, Court Radio listeners. It's Dean Weitzman, and it's the last Sunday in February. I think spring is coming. I do. I feel like it. Today might be actually a fairly nice day. Sunny, kind of warm. So, right after you've gotten all your court radio in, you might want to think about going out and getting some exercise. But in any event, we've got Dr. Andy Weiss in the house. Dr. Weiss is My Philly Lawyer employee who reviews all of the medical malpractice cases as they come in. And as fate would have it, we got Joseph from that little state to our south, Delaware. Hello, Joseph.
Good morning, Dean. How are you today?
We're doing well, thanks. It's good to hear your voice.
We as well. We're doing well.
Good. You've got a question for us? Shoot.
Yes.
We only have a couple more minutes.
Okay. I have a son that was involved in a malpractice case 4 years ago. Two doctors were supposed to have been involved, and we went to go settle last year, and they were saying that we can't sue both doctors, that the other doctors is going to play us back and forth like a ping pong, back and forth, saying that he did it and he didn't do it, just like that. So let's go after one doctor. We can't sue both doctors. And I disagree with him. I'm like, both doctors put my son in this situation to where he is no longer able to take care of himself. I want both doctors accountable for this malpractice that put my son in this situation.
And what happened?
And they said, well, we went after the one doctor. The one doctor agreed for a settlement of $500,000, and after that's taken out for the doctor's bills and stuff like that, we'll wind up with a couple $100,000, which has to go into a trust fund for my son that we wouldn't be able to touch it unless it was for him and stuff like that. And I'm like, we're not going that route. We can't get both doctors involved in this to where y'all trying to play me to the point that where one doctor is going to help the other doctor pay this long malpractice suit and get away with it. I'm not trying to go that route.
All right.
I think
so we're viciously running out of time, so I'm going to let Randy real quick comment, and then I'm going to comment.
Okay.
What was the case about? What happened?
His heart. He was in the hospital for his heart. He was in there for a week. They discharged him that Friday and told him to follow back up that Monday. So happened we was taking him to the doctors that Monday. He fell out in the doctor's office and lost consciousness and stuff like that. Had a brain.
Well, we got.
problem.
I'm not sure where your lawyer stands on this. As far as there might be a good reason behind this.
So what we think you should do is give us a call during the week at 215-227-2727, and Randy will talk to you. But I will say that if you sign a release, a general release for one doctor, it releases all the doctors and hospitals and everybody, including me. It releases the world. So a general release releases the world. Be careful when you sign those.
We haven't signed nothing.
All right. Give us a call during the week.
Signed nothing.
All right.
I'll be glad to talk to you about it.
Randy will talk to you, 215-227-2727. Folks, we got to go. Philly Speaks coming up next. Very, very fast show.